President Trump's former lawyer will very likely get indicted in a special counsel or within one of the special counsels that Pam Bondi and John Ratcliffe and Kash Patel and Tulsi Gabbard preside over. Hit subscribe to this channel right now. MSNBC News. He intends to do it again. Michael Cohen sounds new alarms on Trump's retribution plans. Oh my God, Trump's retribution. It was never retribution or vengeance. When they went after Trump, it was about the rule of law. It was about the pristine, pure as the driven snow rule of law. They wanted to go after Trump because a dossier that Clinton purchased, in which she received FEC fines for her campaign, the DNC as well, stated that Trump was in a hotel room someplace enjoying a certain type of activity. Very likely this was an autobiography from one of the top Democrats, and they just turned it into a dossier. Anyway, hit subscribe to this channel, MSNBC News. To my super chat, thank you, Leon. Leon, sir, thank you for watching so early in the morning. Thank you, Leon, in England. Thank you. Thank you so very, very much. He intends to do it again. Michael Cohen sounds new alarms. MSNBC News. MSN, Supreme Court rejects Michael Cohen's case alleging retribution by Trump over tell-all book. Who is the person out there that bought this man's book? Anyway, a book you should buy, ladies and gentlemen, is George Papadopoulos' book. That is rooted in reality. But anyway, hit subscribe. There's potential perjury. There's a likelihood that Michael Cohen gets indicted. There's the possibility that he lied numerous times. And the odds are that Kash Patel, Pam Bondi, and others are going to start a special counsel regarding Michael Cohen's congressional and New York testimony. If you don't believe me, this is Pam Bondi.
Attorney General Pam Bondi joins me now. Welcome back, Ms. Bondi. What's your reading of the Trump trial and Michael Cohen's testimony?
Well, you have to remember Michael Cohen is a convicted felon, a convicted liar, and he gave discredited testimony in court, and the jurors see that, and they're going to be told, Stuart, in a jury instruction, if it makes it that far, that if you believe anything that a witness said isn't true, you can disregard their entire testimony. That's a standard jury instruction.
Hold on a second.
So I think so far he's failed miserably.
You're saying if he makes it that far, you mean the trial could end suddenly by the judge?
Yes,
could end it?
The judge could end it by a directed verdict. That's what the defense attorneys will be seeking. And, Stuart, I believe they've committed reversible error every single step of this trial, beginning with jury selection. As a career prosecutor, they've let in so much evidence that should not have been admitted into this trial. But also, they did not prove their case. Not one single witness, not even Michael Cohen, who was, by the way, Donald Trump's lawyer, violated attorney-client privilege, could admitted that President Trump did anything wrong. No one has in this trial so far. It should be a directed verdict. However, the way this judge has been ruling the entire trial, I don't know if he'll do that. It should be a directed verdict. It should never, ever get to a jury, Stuart.
Do you think Trump should testify himself?
Absolutely not. I know he wants to testify. He's made that very clear, but the state has not proven their case. I don't think he should testify. I don't think they need to put on any witnesses. That's the argument if it makes it to a jury. I don't think it should again, but that they haven't proven their case against him. No, he has the absolute right not to testify.
This is the new Attorney General, ladies and gentlemen. The new Attorney General. Okay, you went from Eric Holder to Attorney General Loretta Lynch to Merrick Garland, and Jeff Sessions and William Barr, but basically only Democratic Party attorneys general. Jeff Sessions was actually more loyal to the Democratic Party than he was to Trump. He was actually more loyal than Eric Holder and Merrick Garland were to Democrats, both of whom, Holder and Garland, were held in contempt of Congress. I just love it when they say, oh, Pam Bondi, loyalist, Kash Patel, loyalist, this person, loyalist. You have two attorneys general who are held in contempt of Congress, withholding information to protect the Democratic Party president in the Oval Office. I mean, how much more of a loyalist can you be? But anyway, it's alleged, we'll just use these terms, okay? It's alleged that he lied under oath numerous times. It's alleged that Michael Cohen committed perjury. It's very likely that he'll be indicted based on lying under oath, whether it's the state court or federal court. He lied numerous times, allegedly.
I don't think he should, not even close. I know he wants to, so let's hope his lawyers convince him not to, because he does not need to in this case.
Hunter Biden's gun trial begins next month. The judge refused his lawyer's request to delay the trial. They claim Hunter won't have enough time to prepare. Pam, how does the Hunter gun trial play out?
Well, he wrote a memoir, and of course, in his book, he admitted to, so he's not a convicted felon, Stuart, but you can't buy.
And you fast forward, and he has been pardoned. Could you imagine if 4 years ago we knew that Hunter would be pardoned? When Democrats and media and intel officials converged to lie through their teeth, see, this is the problem with American politics. It's not left or right. Trump doesn't have a laptop full of likely bribery and graft. You had 50 intel officials saying that the laptop was a Kremlin operation to deceive Americans into voting for Trump. Again, you'd have to be an imbecile to believe any of this. But the problem is, Rudy Giuliani doesn't get to buy a dossier on President Obama. But Clinton's attorneys get to buy a dossier on Trump. And then start an endless investigation based on lies, and then they pontificate about Trump and 4 years ago and his lies. But the Associated Press and others never use the word lies when it's about the allegations that Trump was an operative of another country. Oh, well, there was evidence. Well, where was the evidence? Well, a dossier. And also a lot of government officials believed that. So what? The government officials in Trump's administration that indict people will do so based on evidence that they set up Trump. It's come full circle, and Democrats in media can't really wrap their minds around this. They're so convinced, they've convinced themselves of yet another lie that law enforcement and the laws and the American political system and establishment were leveled against Trump for good reason. They still haven't caught on to the reality that there was not one shred of evidence that Trump was working with another country. Not a shred of evidence. And so when Trump goes after, through his DOJ and Bureau and Central Intelligence and all the declassification, when he goes after the people that tried to imprison him forever, he's the protagonist in this story, not the villain. He's not the antagonist. Okay, the baddies are not Trump and Trump Republicans. We'll leave it at that. The wonderful left in this country, the wonderful morally superior liberal Democrats, who are generally a lot of good, wonderful people, honestly, I'm saying this honestly. But again, you have wonderful, good people who are disowning friends and family. What kind of person do you have to be to convince yourself that Hunter and Joe and Anthony Weiner and Bill Clinton and all these people and Michael Cohen and all these former, bureau officials and all these people who try to set up and frame Trump? Not Anthony Weiner. That's another story. That's a little bit before. But Clinton and servers and Hunter and laptops and pardons and Trump is worse. Why? Because he was accused of things he didn't do? I don't. Never get into a debate with a morally superior liberal Democrat. A, they won't know what the dossier is. If they do, they won't care who purchased it. And if they acknowledge that Clinton purchased it, they'll always just fall back. Even if the reality is that they've done worse, they'll fall back on this Pavlovian response Trump is worse. It's like they've been so indoctrinated to believe that Trump is worse, they're ignorant as to all the endless lies and deceitful and really illegal things that have taken place to set up and frame Trump. The dossier and George Papadopoulos being set up and framed, read his book. It's on Amazon. That began a whole bunch of government officials trying to set up and frame Trump on the federal level. Then on the state level, you had state prosecutors. All of these prosecutions, all of these indictments have fallen completely apart because they were never based on any shred of evidence. All the indictments read like an MSNBC producer wrote them. So now you have Pam Bondi, who's basically saying, look, this is all nonsense, and she's the attorney general. Okay? Then you have his own attorney. If we're supposed to trust Michael Cohen because he was Trump's attorney, well, you have Michael Cohen's own lawyer for legal advisor on Fox saying categorically that he lied.
Michael Cohen's former legal advisor says that he is ready to take the stand at former President Trump's trial and that he can contradict Michael Cohen's testimony. Bob Costello says the prosecution's star witness told him years ago that he had nothing on former President Trump. That conversation came up during Cohen's testimony. Prosecutor Susan Hoffinger asking Cohen, quote, during that meeting, did you tell Mr. Costello the truth about what...
By the way, if we're supposed to trust what essentially is hearsay and gossip in media and within this political intrigue, then Michael Cohen's former legal advisor, his words should be taken into account as well, especially if he's willing to testify under oath and he has proof that Cohen lied. The issue here is that it wasn't an FEC violation. Purchasing the dossier was. That's why the FEC stated they committed a crime, the DNC and a civil infraction. Okay, it was an FEC violation to purchase the Steele dossier, which was full of lies. And the only reason BuzzFeed got away with the libel suits and defamation is that, well, they said, well, it was a government involvement. It was a government story. Well, but now if we're finding out the government officials are part of some kind, they conspired and broke 18 U.S. Code 790, I don't know, 371, 115. With Clinton, it was 793F, something like that. Yeah. But anyway, it wasn't an FEC crime. The Hans A. von Spakovsky, former FEC chairman, Bradley Smith, former FEC chairman, and Trey Traynor, former FEC chairman, have stated Trump could have paid Stormy with dollar bills. It wouldn't have been an FEC crime. Furthermore, Michael Cohen has no proof. He has no evidence that Trump instructed him to do anything. And also, under oath in Congress, Michael Cohen stated he had no evidence that Trump told him to pay Stormy. And then on the state level in New York, he said suddenly there was evidence. So which statement is the truth?
Mr. Trump's role was in the payoff to Stormy Daniels. Cohen testified on the stand under oath, no. Hoffinger, why not? Cohen, first, I wasn't sure that I was going to hire him. There was something really sketchy and wrong about him. He came with a retainer agreement, and I said, I'm not going to pay that right now. I'm still speaking to other lawyers. So I certainly wasn't going to expose anything to one, someone I didn't know, and two, I was having trouble connecting with. Bob Costello joins me now.
All lawyers bring retainer agreements. I mean, if you want to retain them for their services.
Now, Bob, welcome back to the program. Good to see you. So that's your word against his on the stand the other day. What do you say to the fact that he says that he was not being truthful with you in that conversation?
Well, first of all, it's not my word against his. I was there with my law partner. Second of all, virtually everything that Michael Cohen has said, and I read his testimony, at least the part that relates to me, is a lie. And I have documents to prove it. He claims that right there in the clip that you just put on the screen that we brought a retainer agreement. Totally untrue. He didn't see a retainer agreement for at least 6 or 7 days after that. And we have emails that corroborate that. Michael Cohen lies from the beginning to the end. Now, the important part was he asked to meet with us right after his home and his law office were searched pursuant to a search warrant.
He called you, just to be clear. He reached out to you.
Right.
Yeah.
No, initially, my law partner, who knew him for 10 years, when he heard about the search warrants, he sent him a note saying, gee, I'm sorry to hear that you're having so much trouble. He said, you know, I have a guy in my office, a partner of mine, who was deputy chief of the criminal division of that same office. If you ever want to pick his brain, just let me know. Cohen responded immediately, I'd like to meet with you guys. Can you come up here, meaning to the Regency Hotel, because all the reporters are following me and I can't leave my apartment without a slew of reporters. So we agreed to do that the next day. The two of us arrived. We went to a conference room on the second floor of the Regency Hotel. That's the first time I saw Michael Cohen. He looked like he hadn't slept coming his way. Now, when you have a guy, and actually, if you look at the memos that I did about that meeting, you'll find out that I told Michael Cohen that the easiest way to solve all of his legal problems was he clearly wasn't the target of the Southern District's investigation. Donald Trump was. I said, therefore, if you have truthful information about Donald Trump that implicates him in anything, I can have your problem solved by the end of the week.
Yeah. Let me ask you,
but
because
it has to be truthful.
Yeah. Now, you also testified before the grand jury, and we reported on this yesterday. And you said that, you know, Bragg and his folks were not interested in the exculpatory information that you had. It appears that they really wanted to keep Michael Cohen sort of in a zone where they felt like he was their star witness, and you were potentially damaging that for them. So they wanted nothing to do with the information that you had. Do you think that you will be called by the defense to testify on Monday? Have you had any communication with Trump's defense?
Well, let me put it to you this way. First of all, as I understand it, on Monday, they're still continuing the cross-examination of Michael Cohen.
Yep.
After he finishes that cross-examination, then the district attorney's office will get a chance to inquire again, redirect. I don't know how long that's going to take. And then after that, I'm sure they're going to make motions to dismiss this case. Frankly, the judge should dismiss the case, but I suspect that he will not. So I don't think anything is going to happen on Monday.
If, let's just say, if the allegations against Michael Cohen are correct, or if they're accurate, if indeed he lied to Congress, well, he did lie to Congress. Okay, but I'm just, whatever, just for legal purposes. Let's say he allegedly lied to Congress. Let's say he committed perjury. Okay, let's say he lied on the witness stand in New York. He's under oath in Congress, and he's under oath in New York. It's not difficult to find out the inconsistencies between what he told Congress 5 years ago and what he told the court in New York last year. This isn't rocket science, okay? Then there's the motive. If there's any coordination between the federal government and Michael Cohen, Biden's administration, I should say, and Michael Cohen, any coordination between the Democratic Party and Michael Cohen, very likely illegal. I mean, Democrats project all the time. Oh, Trump, he's an authoritarian. What Democrats did was the most authoritarian, tyrannical, despotic thing. They very likely coordinated with Michael Cohen, stating, look, you're probably going to get 20, 30, 40 years for all the crimes, the financial crimes. And if you play ball with us, you will get a reduced sentence. So he went all in. He didn't have to do, go on Twitter and insult Trump and all these things. Or X. And he didn't have to go on MSNBC a million times over. You could tell there was a moment that he was enjoying it. Michael Avenatti was enjoying it. There's a long list of people who went after Trump. Michael Avenatti actually could be a witness against Michael Cohen. James Comey stated he would be a witness against Andrew McCabe. This is not going to be difficult this will not be difficult at all. Rob, hello. This will not be difficult at all to prove intent or to find crimes that very likely Michael Cohen committed.
My best guess is if they decide to put on a case, they will call me if they decide to do that. But I think that might be Tuesday or Wednesday if that happens.
Do you think
the choice of whether to do that is totally up to them,
exactly.
not me.
And do you think they need you based on the cross-examination that Blanche has done and what we'll see continuing on Monday, or do you think he's been effective enough?
Well, that's the phrase, effective enough. You never know whether he was effective enough until you have a jury verdict.
That's right.
So my view is if you have additional damaging information, you should bring it forward.
So it sounds like you would like to testify. Is that fair to say?
I don't know that like is the right word. The whole reason I got into this was that Michael Cohen still stupidly attempted to cooperate by lying about Rudy Giuliani and myself, accusing us of a crime, of dangling a pardon in front of him in order to keep him quiet. It was quite the opposite. I actually was encouraging him to cooperate if he had, and only if he had, truthful information about Donald Trump. And I don't think he had truthful information, because when you're suicidal that day, but he kept on saying that he did this on his own. Frankly, he didn't tell us this, but it's clear afterwards, to curry favor with Trump, because he had been left behind in New York when all of the rest of Trump's inner circle went to Washington, D.C. Michael Cohen was the only guy left behind. He was trying to find a way to ingratiate himself. That's
So the issue is, how many different statements did Michael Cohen make? Because they had to, what they had to do is prove that Trump committed an FEC crime. But they never did that, because guess what? The FEC itself dropped the hush money case. The DOJ dropped the hush money case. Former FEC chairman have stated he could have paid Stormy with a personal check, dollar bills. Who was the, what's his name? He paid the certain person who did services in the evening with a personal check. The former mayor, I think, of Cincinnati, they had the talk show, Jerry Springer. I don't know if it's urban legend. I think Jerry Springer paid an individual that provides services, let's say in the evening, with a personal check.
Michael Cohen could be in legal trouble again, as a top Democrat on the House Oversight Committee says the Department of Justice could open a perjury investigation based on his Capitol Hill testimony last month.
Now, this could be like past the statute of limitations, but I mean, the misdemeanors against Trump were past the statute of limitations. So you know what? I mean, it's you wouldn't even have to go like 5 years back in time. A lot of the statements allegedly he told the court in New York were false. So it's like, but this is just one example in congressional testimony.
I imagine that that Chairman Cummings will end up referring him. That's just my guess. When Chairman Cummings says something like, "I'm going to nail you to the cross," he means it.
Former federal prosecutor John Sale joins me now. John, I guess it shouldn't be a surprise. Since that testimony, we've seen a lot of contradictions at the very least, and some that seem to be outright lies.
Well, Charles, Michael Cohen's wish list obviously was to get a reduction of his sentence, and I predict he may see just the opposite. I tried to watch him with an open mind. I came into this I was a Watergate prosecutor, and I remember John Dean, and John Dean's testimony took down a president. But boy, was it different. I mean, remember, John Dean himself was secretly recorded. Michael Cohen
as a lawyer, selectively recorded his own client. I mean, imagine that. But so I start off with an open mind, and Michael Cohen begins his testimony by name calling. He calls the president names. Now, anybody who prepares a witness knows that if you really have something of substance, don't go to name calling. Just get right down to it and be dispassionate. And he came across as somebody who had an agenda, who was bitter. He went from darkness to light, blind loyalty. Well, he did not have a cooperation agreement with the Southern District. And the Southern District, in their sentencing memo, said he just cooperated. He did this belatedly, and he profited to a great deal. But what did he lie about? Or whether or not it's perjury remains to be seen. He misled the Congress. What did he lie about? What did he mislead the Congress about? Number one, give me a break. He didn't want a job in the White House. I mean, that is easily proven. But more importantly, when he said clearly, he used the word, I never requested nor would I accept a pardon. Well, never means never. And despite the fact that Lanny Davis tried to do some damage control, where are we? What is the meaning of is? What does is mean? I mean, he wanted a pardon. What's he going to do if he gets a pardon? He's going to say, return to sender. I'm rather going to go to jail for 3 years. I mean, he downright lied. So there goes the value of his testimony. And remember, he reluctantly said, I don't know anything about collusion. Right. And that's what this is all about.
And Michael Cohen, interestingly enough, was implicated in the Steele dossier. So before they used Cohen to try to go after Trump, they tried to tear down Michael Cohen by stating that he was part of a Kremlin plot to defeat Clinton. So Michael Cohen was suing BuzzFeed. I mean, this is like the Keystone Cops going after Trump. Then Michael Cohen had financial crimes in New York. Then he was indicted. Then they used that, and then he was convicted. Then they used that to flip. So he was going to flip and sing. And this was like a poorly written crime drama that Democrats were falling over themselves over. Oh my God, they loved it so much. It led to a complete landslide by Trump. So there's only so many times you can hear that Trump is the greatest menace in the universe. Nobody cares anymore. That's the thing, like, you lied. The Democrats were the proverbial boy who cried wolf. They lied all the time. Trump is what? Trump, FEC crime. Trump, hush money. Trump, Kremlin. Trump, everything. Fill in the blank, everything. Oh, he said both sides. None of these things were true. None. There might be a kernel of truth that was distorted and warped and twisted and contorted into some kind of fantasy that Democrats wanted the country to believe in. A person in America that despises Trump, that really, really thinks Trump is the most evil person that's ever existed, is very likely either an imbecile or so indoctrinated that they lack knowledge of reality, the reality pertaining to Trump and what Democrats did to him, what media did to him. Now it's the revenge tour. He's an authoritarian. He's going after good people who tried to imprison him forever for things he didn't do. That's what's taking place.
Two things there that I want to come. Let's start backwards. That I didn't want to pardon. Semantics. Maybe his lawyer asked. Maybe his lawyer went and asked without him even knowing about it. I mean, when they bring these things up, if they're eventually brought up in a perjury hearing, will his defense be, well, that was my lawyer. I was telling the truth. I never personally requested any assistance from the White House.
Well, that's the argument. I'd rather be on the prosecutor's side of that argument. Lawyers do what clients tell them to do, and something as important as a pardon, a lawyer doesn't keep that secret from a client. A client would be thrilled to get a pardon. Do you know how unusual that is? But in this case, Michael Cohen's not getting a pardon.
John, you talked about not playing to the Southern District. Instead, it did feel like he was playing exactly to the room, and we've learned that there was extensive rehearsals, hours and hours and hours. Perhaps that's what drove him to take this sort of very harsh personal attack on President Trump right out of the gate, and something that we were there to get, again, ultimately we thought we were going to hear about something with regard to Russian collusion. Could he?
And this is the thing. And we'll wrap up in a couple of seconds. Whether it was Michael Cohen or Michael Avenatti, or you can look. There are a lot of journalists that went after Trump. There are a lot of former bureau officials, you know, former DOJ officials. There's a former attorney general of New York that had to resign because his dirty laundry was aired. Andrew Cuomo went after Trump, and that didn't work out for him. And nothing ever works out for people that sell their souls to trying to destroy Donald Trump. The opposite happens. If you try to ruin Trump, you yourself will be ruined. And that's like, Trump has become this like virtually a mythical figure in American politics. He's almost mythical. He's like the Obi-Wan Kenobi. He's like Star Wars Obi-Wan Kenobi of politics. And Michael Cohen, you could tell, he was on Jimmy Kimmel. Oh my God. He was on MSNBC a million times. They lure you in. What Democrats and media do is they lure you in. You're a mini celebrity for just a second. And it doesn't work out because Trump didn't do anything. That's the problem. So he didn't have a laptop. He didn't have private servers. He didn't have all the things that Democrats have gotten away with up until recently. Let's hope. Let's hope that justice in the form of people who actually broke laws. Like, I'm not talking about revenge. I'm against Trump or anybody. Revenge, retribution. That's what Democrats did to Trump. I'm against retribution and revenge. I am all for people who deliberately broke the law and deceived Americans. Do you know how many people have disowned friends and family because government officials, media, political operatives on the left, Democrats have deceived and lied to them about Trump? And the endless news stories, it's like you can't even bring this up because there are people so indoctrinated. It's part of their identity, who they are. Despising Trump is now like another identity. And that's because of years and years of lies about him. And Michael Cohen, I mean, what good did it do him? He committed financial crimes. Now he's facing even longer sentences with federal statutes that he very likely broke. Anyway, hit subscribe to this channel. I'll see you tomorrow, everybody. I'm trying to do 2 a day, ladies and gentlemen. 2 live streams a day. We'll do 3 live streams when things get really rolling with the special counsels. And there will be almost certainly numerous special counsels or just indictments off the bat. You know, you don't need a special counsel if you can declassify everything and you already have testimony. Anyway, hit subscribe to this channel, everybody.